Welcome everyone, today we'll have a new build guide video for Diablo 4, and today we'll be looking into the sources. Now today we'll have a very interesting build, and I've been looking into this build for a while now. It is very creative and very interesting, because we'll be going for a cooldown reduction lightning melee mage. Yes, the mage itself have a lot of benefits. So what I'll do is, I'll give you guys a quick summary of the mage's benefit, then we run through the skills, then we go over to the skill tree. So the benefits of this mage build is that we have number of sources of cooldown reduction. This include Lash, which stuns enemies. Hitting stun enemies reduced our cooldown by 0.25 seconds, and each time this hits enemies that are stunned. And also minus 0.5 seconds for the lightning spear whenever we pick up Crackling energy. Now Crackling energy and also stunning enemies will be two of the major themes of the game. And just in case you guys are wondering what is Crackling energy, we do have a video talk about all the status effect, and Crackling energy is going to periodically deal damage to nearby enemies when we pick it up. So it's like a free auto damage against enemies. Now finally, hitting enemies with Crackling energy minus our cooldown consistently by 0.1 to 0.25 seconds per normal monsters and also elites. So right away you can see we have multiple ways of reducing the cooldown of a character. Plus that, when we cast an ultimate with unstable current, we cast a random non-basic lightning spell as we cast spells, and this means we get more spells and also we get more cooldown reduction this way. So this also multiplies with ultimate, and ultimate itself will lower cooldown because of this. Now there's a number of ways we get stun, and Crackling energy is going to be essential. We can also be getting those from enchantment. So after teleporting, we'll be dealing 40% more damage with Crackling energy. And as you're going to see with the passives and also with the aspects of Codex, we'll be dealing massive damage once enemies are stunned as well. Now as for the enchantment options, I'll leave this one at the end of the video because after you see the skill build, you kind of see the reasons behind picking some of those enchantments, including stunning attackers and also getting more Crackling energy, and also getting free summons of your spells, which produce more Crackling energy. So coming over to the skill summary of the build, we'll be going with Lash, which will be one of the essential themes to gaining resource and also stunning enemies and so lowering cooldown. So this one is actually pretty important. We'll also be going with a core skill Chant Lightning to have more summons of Crackling energy and also deal AoE damage. For defensive spell, we'll go with Teleport, and this will become offensive and also utility. And this spell can also be randomly casted as we cast our ultimate Unstable Current. So this spell can also give us a damage boost with Crackling energy by 40%. For the conjunction, we'll go with Lightning Spears, and this also works well with the theme of the Lightning Mage. And finally, for the mastery spell, we go with Ball Lightning. Ball Lightning will summon more Crackling energy, and there's a chance of dealing more damage as well. As for our ultimate, this spell itself actually does not deal damage. It allows us for... So let's come over to the ultimate quickly over here. I'll quickly show you guys. This is actually a pretty interesting spell. So Unstable Current means that whenever we cast a lightning spell, we'll cast another non-basic lightning spell. So we could be casting our basic spell Lash, and all of a sudden we're casting other lightning spells. So this is the idea, right? And this means that for the next 10 seconds you double cast, and you can cast me a lot of random spells and getting a lot of effect. Now notice the cooldown is 70 seconds, but not to worry because there's a lot of ways to reduce cooldown. Now finally for the capstone, we'll be going with Overflow Energy. Now because Overflow Energy will be one of the crucial part of the build, it is likely during beta you can't have the full build, and it is likely you want more of your enchantment perks as well. Because of that, this build might not become functional until level 30-35, so just keep this in mind guys, because you do want this capstone for lowering cooldowns with the essential theme of Crackling energy. Now coming over to a skill tree for the level 50 max level Sorcerer with 15 Reno. We probably have more points as we get more uniques and also more legendaries with aspects that increase skill points. But now those skill points are enough for now. So you can see I went with 1 point in Spark. This is because there will be a chance we might want the enchantment effect of killing enemies gain 10% of forming a Crackling energy, and this will be the theme of the build, right? More Crackling energy, more cooldowns, more damage, and also more utility and also more summoning of random spells. So this is a big theme. That's why this is one is going to be one of the options in our enchantment options. So this is 1 point over here. Now we'll be going with at least 1 point in Lash, and Lash upgrades means that when we critical strike, it hits another time. And also, hitting stun enemies with Lash reduce cooldowns by 0.5 seconds. And this is actually going to be the major theme. Now, as you reduce cooldowns as you stun enemies, over here we also have, I'll just come back over here. So over here with Unstable Current, likely you can cast Lash together and summon another non-basic spell. So while you're gaining resource and you're casting Lash and stunning enemies, reducing your cooldown, you can also be casting another spell, like double casting. Now as for Lash, every 10 Lash swipes, it will stun all enemies for 2 seconds. So ultimately, this spell have an innate stunning. And if you do go with enchantment for the spell, there's another 20% chance to stun attackers for 1 second. So there's a lot of ways for us to stun enemies. This spell itself has 2 ways if you go with enchantment. And of course, if you guys remember, or quickly come over here, you will go with Aspect of Retribution. So this allows you to stun range attackers for another 2 seconds and deal increased stunning damage against enemies. Deal increased damage against stunned enemies. Now as for the core skill tree, we'll be going with Chain Lightning. Chain Lightning is a decent spell for cleaning up a pack of enemies, and as the Chain Lightning bounces multiple times and also critical strikes, we can spawn another Crackling energy, and this will lower cooldowns of all the other spells. Now as for some of the passives, we can go with 1 point in Devastation to increase damage to healthy enemies, and also to go with 3 points into Elemental Dominance, so increasing our damage over time, as after 3 seconds we'll deal 24% more damage. And casting a skill does reset this spell, so you can take this away if you need the skill points, and this is not the urgent one. Coming over to defense, we want at least 1 point into Teleport. And going with Teleport taking less 30% damage is very good for the melee mage, because you'll be jumping into the battle. As you jump into battle, and because you have a lot of Crackling energy, Teleport also increases Crackling energy's damage by 40%. This is going to be massive, because later with the capstone, you also hit additional enemies with Crackling energy. Now we can also go with Glass Cannon. Because we're melee mage, this may be a little scary, but the 18% free damage is really nice. So coming over to the next part, as for Conjunction. We'll go with Lightning Spears. Lightning Spears have chance to deal more damage, and also absorbing Crackling energy with enchantment, you can make or summon another Lightning Spear. So this is quite interesting. The upgrades allows us to deal additional chance of critical strike against stunned enemies. So the theme of the game, of the build, is going to be stunning and also Crackling energy and cooldown reduction. And finally, Crackling energy. If we collect Crackling energy for the Lightning Spears, the cooldown of this spell will reduce by 0.5 seconds each time this happens. So this spell have a 20-second cooldown and a 6-second summoning duration. But ideally, we can take this build maybe down to 10 seconds, and this can be very powerful. Now, because a lot of the spells requires lucky hit chance, and for the Sorcerer itself, it has boosted lucky hit chance with the weapons it has and also passives. So we want to go with lucky hit chance increased by 15% for all the chance of Crackling energy and also cooldown reduction and also stuns. Over here we have the 1 point into Alignment of Elements. So this is to give us a little more defensiveness, and finally we get Protection. So casting a spell with cooldown gives us a maximum life barrier. And because our cooldowns are massively reduced, we can be casting a lot of spells at maybe 5 or 10 second interval and gets a lot of shield this way. Now on the topic of getting a barrier, because our passive can get us a barrier, I was thinking about Aspect of Deflecting Barrier. This is because while we have a barrier, there's a 20% chance we can ignore incoming distant damage or range damage. Because we're melee mage, we might have difficulty against range enemies. So this is optional if you find yourself with a lot of barrier. So this is a defensive perk. I didn't add this in, but this is definitely optional. Now for the mastery spell of the build, we'll be going with Ball Lightning. Ball Lightning has a gradual zapping effect to the enemies, and this will deal, immediate damage. Now as for the enchantment for Ball Lightning, we have a 10% chance of summoning another Ball Lightning instead of Crackling energy. Now it's a little silly to exchange Crackling energy for Ball Lightning when we need the theme of the build so much, right? But if we come to the passives, we have more frequency of dealing damage, and also we have when enemies are hit by Ball Lightning 4 times, you get another Crackling energy. So getting more Ball Lightning means more Crackling energy and also more lightning damage, and this is actually really nice. Now there are some really nice passives in the mastery section, so 1 point into Regenerative Conduct, and after that we can go with Static Discharge, which have an increased chance of critical strikes with any of the lightning spells and shock spells, which also forms a Crackling energy for 15%. So notice we want higher lucky hit chance for those. And also when enemies are stunned, your lightning damage will deal 45% more damage. This is pretty massive, because we'll be stunning enemies a lot and dealing additional damage this way. Now, on the topic of stunning enemies, there is actually a lot of perks, so we'll quickly talk about some of the massive perks in the stunning section for offense. So 40% more damage when enemies are stunned, and over here 30% more damage when enemies are stunned, and over here 30% more damage when enemies are stunned. So pretty much you do like 145% more damage. So there's 100% more damage over here, and there is another 45% damage over here for lightning damage, which will do lightning damage, right? Now we have spoke about the ultimate earlier, so the ultimate is Unstable Current. The upgrades first is that we have increased attack speed, and also while the Unstable Current is activated, collecting Crackling energy increases duration by 0.25 seconds. So the 10 seconds might become 15 seconds if we collect a lot of those. And the itself is that when you cast a lightning spell, which all the spells will be lightning, likely this is also a basic spell that can be a lightning spell, and casting a spell summons another spell or casts another spell that is not basic lightning. So ideally, if you're just casting Lash and gets a lot of energy, and all of a sudden you can be casting random spell like Chain Lightning, Ball Lightning, or maybe Lightning Spears for free. And then you have enough energy, you cast Chain Lightning, you summon all those other spells for free. You can also be teleporting for free too, which reduces your damage taking by 30%. And while that's happening, you'll be summoning a lot of, Crackling energy, and this extends your ultimate. So this is like a Super Saiyan mode, like a Berserk mode for the Mage. Now there are some really nice passives in the ultimate section as well. You can see everything's perked into 3 maximum points almost. So over here, Consoling Current, so hitting enemies with shock skills increase your critical chance by 3%, and resets upon getting a critical strike, but still this increases your damage, and a lot of our spells wants to crit, because critical hitting gives us Crackling energy. And we can also go with 3 points into Conduct, so critical strikes increase our attack speed by another 15%. And finally, we can go with Convulsion. So this is another lucky hit. Shock spells have a 9% chance to stun enemies. So all the spells are lightning spells, all the spells have increased chance of stunning enemies, and because we have so many lucky hit chance increase, we'll be getting at least maybe 10-15% of stunning with each lightning attack. Now I do have a 1 point into Electrocution, so enemies deal 5% less damage after being critical strike. You don't have to go with this point, because if you're defensive, you can go with more points in this, but if you're not that defensive, this is optional. I actually just forgot, I just perked this way. And finally, we spoke about the capstone. Overflowing energy is going to be the core of the build, and this really comes well as the more points you have. So this particular build will be a late game mage build that can be very powerful. But in the early game, especially in beta, without this spell, the build won't be very strong. Or maybe the build won't even be like that good. Now coming over to the Codex of Power. We have mentioned a few of those before, and me, I really like Disobedience and also Might, so we don't have to talk about those too much. We'll talk about some of those, additional ones. So here for the aspect of Unwavering, taking direct damage resets the cooldown of, have a chance to reset cooldown of defensive skills at 5% chance. So notice that you'll be a melee mage, and likely you'll take direct damage. So this is a really nice spell to have, and you can be teleporting a lot because of this. And also we have the aspect of Retribution, if you take distant damage, you have a chance of stunning distant enemies. And also previously, if you go with Enchantment for Lash, again, if you're hit, you have a chance of stunning enemies. So those are really nice because you're a melee mage. Now because we'll be using Lash, which is a basic spell, getting 23% attack speed on this spell is also not bad. This also means you can do more summons of other spells during your ultimate. And we mentioned earlier that we'll be getting a lot of stuns. So this is a 100% increase of stunning chance with aspect of Pummeling, aspect of Control, and also aspect of Retribution. Now one of the major theme of the build is the aspect of Splittering Energy. So Lightning Spears have another 11% chance of spawning another Lightning Spear when you cast it. So you might be having 3, 4, 5 lightning spears, because you summon one lightning spear, then you get another lightning spear, and your ultimate may be summoning a multiple lightning spears. And finally, as you have more Crackling energy, with this enchantment, you have 10% chance to summon more lightning spears. Now as we move to the resource section, you can see that we have more than 10 aspects. So I highlighted those that can be useful for the build, but ideally you want to pick the ones that's best for you, right? So it's not possible to pick all of those. So pick those that is useful for you. And I also listed this down over here. So if you want to see the description over here, you can see those listed over here. I'm not saying you want all of them. Pick the ones that's best for you. If you are not stunning enemies a lot, you don't have to pick the stunning ones. If you are not doing anything for the basic attack, you don't have to pick this one. So for the resource, because we'll want to stun enemies, and as we crowd control enemies, we'll be getting more resource. So this is definitely an optional one. And again, casting basic skill reduce the mana cost. So again, this is giving us more energy. Now the interesting ones will be the recharging aspect. So each time Chain Lightning bounces off you, you gain 4 mana. So this spell makes Chain Lightning recharge itself. And for the Prodigy's aspect, because we want more energy to be casting spells, getting 80 energy when we cast the ultimate spell is also not bad. But the ultimate does have a 70-second cooldown. Even with cooldown reduction, it could be on like 50 seconds. So keep that in mind. Now for the utility, we go with aspect of shared misery. So again, we'll be crowd controlling enemies, and we want to spread the stunning to other enemies. So let's say if one enemy is stunned, then this one stuns the other one, and then the second one stuns the first one again. So it kind of bouncing between stuns. This is actually really good for the build. And the 30% will become maybe 40 or 50% with higher lucky hit chances. And finally, as for mobility, we go with bouncing contact. So after teleporting, we gain movement speed. And as for the charge aspect, it's also not bad because we're constantly getting crackling energy. So it's like a free 10 movement speed boost all the time. Now this build is definitely very creative and very unique. And this build will rely, of course, on the ability to get more enchantment. So the 4 options I have thought about enchantment will be over here. Now, ideally, in the beta, you can only have 1 enchantment. Later on, after level 30, you can have 2. Maybe you can have 3 in the future. Once you can have 3, this spell becomes even better, or this build becomes even better. So, I was thinking that I can skip Lash stun attackers if I have enough stun, and then just go with the rest of them. So, getting more crackling energy and also summoning more spells with crackling energy, which also reduces my cooldown. Now, hopefully you guys like this build. I want to do a few more builds before the beta comes out, just to give you guys kind of like a future planning for what build might be coming. I'm also working on a Trap Rogue build, a Thorn Barbarian build, and also a Earth Druid build. So there's a few more builds that's coming in the future videos. Now before you go, and if you guys didn't know, we have a new YouTube channel. So I just started a YouTube channel with my girlfriend yesterday, and you can see this is only 12 hours old, this YouTube channel. And if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe and check out the behind the scenes and also fun clips and also more stories about us. And then you get to know me a little more personally instead of just reading the news and also the games, right? So I want to share a little bit more with you guys. So make sure you check this channel out if you're interested about Matt and also Uni. She's really funny too, and she's really shy. So I want to give her a surprise and do a shout out for the new channel to get some subscribers. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys next time.